Welcome to episode 140 of the Forward from 50 podcast, where we interview people over 50 who are pursuing new direction for their lives. It's an opportunity for men and women to tell their stories, their way, and in their own words. I'm Greg Gerber, the founder of Forward from 50, and your host for today's show. Today's guest is Allison McCune Davis. She's a certified traditional naturopath, educator, and author who is on a mission to help people rediscover energy and vitality through natural health. Allison's journey began unexpectedly 30 years ago when a friend introduced her to traditional Chinese medicine. That single encounter, where herbs and simple dietary changes succeeded where prescriptions had not, ignited a lifelong passion for natural wellness. Over time, Allison became a student and teacher of holistic health, eventually earning her certification from the Trinity School of Natural Health. In our conversation, Allison shares several key takeaways. First, the body knows how to heal itself when given the right tools. Herbs, nutrition, and lifestyle habits can often address the root cause of illness much more effectively than pharmaceuticals. Second, true wellness comes from balance, encompassing what she calls the three pillars of body work, brain work, and world work. Each of those have their own big five habits that promote longevity, purpose, and peace. Third, small and consistent actions matter. Through her 60-day DARE program, Allison encourages people to create habits for health and happiness. Those cover everything from better sleep and mindful breathing to decluttering their homes and nurturing relationships. Finally, community and accountability are essential. Whether it's through her classes, her online challenge, or her new book, 60 is a Good Start, Allison helps people stay engaged and connected while building sustainable change. You're never too old to reinvent yourself. At 60, Allison wrote her book and began a new chapter helping others embrace midlife as a time of opportunity, not decline. To tell us more about what gives her life meaning and purpose in her 60s, please welcome Allison McCune Davis to the show. Thanks for joining me today, Allison. I appreciate your time. What got you involved in traditional naturopathology?
It started probably 30 years prior when I was living out in LA. I'm from Oklahoma, but I was living out there, and I was about 30 at the time. And I'm the daughter of a doctor. So I really grew up in a very medical household, like really honestly most of America, I think, but just a little setting there. Anyway, so I'm living out there, and this acquaintance lived next door in our apartment building, and I had this issue going on that was recurring and irritating. And she was like, "You got to go see my TCM doctor." I said, "What is that?" And she said, "Traditional Chinese medicine. He can totally help you." I was like, okay, this is interesting. So I thought, why not? Took me 6 weeks to get in. He was really busy, successful, and all that. And so he did all this muscle testing. He had herbs that he sold. It was just this whole new world, and ended up telling me, "You need to get off dairy, like all forms of dairy." I realized I was eating it 3 times a day. I was just not eating great. Cereal and milk, cheese crackers, pasta, and it was just a big part. And he gave me these herbs. I don't remember what they were, but he said, "You can maybe bring dairy back in about a year, but you really need to be off it for a year." So I did what he said, went away. It's never come back.
Whoa.
That was my first introduction to anything natural, like not a prescription, not a over-the-counter from the drugstore, just herbs, like things grown from the ground. Mm-hmm. And so that just started my journey on that. And then eventually 5 years later, I moved back to Oklahoma, got married, started having kids. And by the time I'd had my third, I was 42 when I had my third. And then at about 43, my health just went downhill. And my immune system was just low. Having 3 kids, first of all, that's going to do that. But also just, again, eating the standard American diet at that time. And I was like getting sick every 6 weeks. Just I'd be a week in bed. And I have these 3 little kids. And I was just like, I can't. This is not working. I've got to fix something. So that's when I first went to a naturopath doctor, because I'd already been on this road to natural health, and it was very intriguing and everything. And so he did all these tests and he just said, okay, your adrenals are shot, your thyroid's not working, you've got too much bad bacteria in your gut, not enough good. And so with herbs, again, there were some diet changes, I don't remember, but supplements that are herbs. We fix things, and I've been going to him ever since. And then when I was 50, I homeschooled my kids, and we adopted 2 more after that, so we had 5. And when I was 50, I was like needing an outlet, an adult outlet. And so I started teaching these classes to women that were about my age or just any age, really. A lot of moms on natural health. And because I learned a lot in that amount of time. And so I started doing that when I was 50, and really at 50, asking those questions that decade birthday. I think I did it at 42, but what am I doing with my life? Am I doing what I should be doing? And so I started doing that. And then in 2018, so I would have been 57, I decided to get my traditional naturopath certification. So that, for me, that took 3 years to do. I guess I ended it in 2018. And it just was a great tool to help me help the people I was helping. And yeah, that's got there.
I think a lot of people are embracing natural health now. I think COVID opened their eyes to something is amiss.
Yes.
And that they don't need to rely on doctors to prescribe yet another medication to treat a symptom, that they need to dive in and figure out what's causing the problem. Good for you for doing this. Did you think you had a milk allergy that was causing the problem years ago?
I don't think I have a milk allergy. Dairy does cause bloating to me, but eventually I drank raw milk for probably 20 years after I learned this, that, and the other. And so I was in a food co-op here during all that time, probably from age, how old would I have been? Probably 38, 9 to where we would go to, the moms would take turns and we would drive out to these farms like 20 miles outside of town, these dairy farms. They were selling raw milk. You can't buy in a store. There's some states you can. I forget which ones, which, God, they're lucky, but not here. And you've seen all the lawsuits about people just horrible with raw milk, going out and dumping farmers' raw milk out into the ground, just awful stuff. Because the raw milk is how doctors of old, 100 years ago, would use it to cure digestive issues, ulcers, like diverticulitis, just those gut issues. They would use raw milk. I have several old books on how they did that. So fascinating, but so good for your health. So raw milk is very different than homogenized and pasteurized milk, which definitely causes a lot of problems. There are some people that think they're lactose intolerant, but if they drink raw milk, they're okay.
My youngest daughter is into this kind of thing too, and she swears by it. She just loves the taste. And
I think there was one summer, this is probably 10 years ago, and intuition, I think, is a big thing. You got to really rely on it if you can. But I had this sense that my gut needed healing. So I went on a raw milk diet for the whole summer. Now, I had a couple of little weekend trips. I didn't do it while I was traveling. It was just difficult. But that stuff is filling. It's got a lot of fat in it, which is great for the body, great for the brain. But I drank it in the morning with some coffee in it. I drank it in the afternoon with I have a thing that's a supplement, but it makes it taste like strawberry milk. Remember that when we were kids? And then I don't know, put it in a smoothie or something and with fruit. But essentially I was just drinking raw milk. I did it for a summer. I never was hungry because it's so filling. And I guess it helped me with whatever it was because I felt better later.
Are there any storage considerations people have to be aware of when consuming raw milk?
Storage?
Yes.
You got to keep it in your fridge. And I remember we had a lot of talking about what's the temperature of a refrigerator. I remember it needed to be 37 degrees or below. And sometime you could tell just by smelling it when it was
like milk.
Too far gone to drink.
All right.
Really good.
Okay, but it lasts more than a day or two, right?
Oh, yes. Yeah. A good week. Good week. Sometimes more.
When you were mentioning traditional Chinese medicine, many people think of acupuncture, but this
Yeah.
goes beyond acupuncture, right?
Yes, this was not acupuncture at all. But I'm sure some of the TCM doctors do that. Everybody specializes in what they like. But no, this was muscle testing. And this guy had this, when I walked in, he had this like briefcase. He opened it up and it had little tiny vials, little glass vials of all kinds of substances that a person might be allergic to. Dairy, environmental thing, grasses, trees, different kind of foods. And so he had me hold on to those while do you know what muscle testing is? Yeah.
Yes.
So I'd put my arm out and he was weak or strong and he could tell by that. I think it's pretty amazing what the body does.
We don't know enough about what our body does. We're not taught it anywhere,
Yeah,
really.
you got to seek it out. It's out there. The education's out there for sure. But you do have to seek it out. We would have these classes here in my hometown, and people would find us word of mouth and stuff, and they'd come in there and be like, "Oh my gosh, I didn't know you guys existed." And that we were just like laughing, saying, "Yeah, we're the underground." We're just talking about general health, natural health, stuff you can do on your own. So many people are so quick to just run to the doctor at every little thing, and especially with babies and stuff, which you got to be careful. But at the same time, this is life. People did this for thousands of years.
That's right. One of the saddest things for me is to see seasoned citizens just having to take multiple medications every day just to survive. And they keep adding that. And I don't know how they can even understand fully how one medication will interact and infect or make it impossible for the other one to work as intended or cause additional problems. So I like the natural idea because it's really hard unless you're consuming a poison to inadvertently to mess that up.
That's so true. So true. Very hard to.
And so you got certified to do this. What did that involve?
I got certified through a company called Trinity School of Natural Health. They're located in Indiana. It was an online program where there were just, I can't remember how many courses were involved. I want to say 50 some. And so you would watch a lecture and then you would do a quiz and for all of them. And then in the end, there was a big final test that was pretty long involved. And then I had to write a dissertation. I think I had the choice of writing the dissertation or physically traveling there and doing an oral test with the people there. So I decided to do the dissertation. I like the writing idea, bringing my ideas together. So that was about 40 pages. And that was what I had to do. So it was great. I met a lot of neat people and still am in contact with them. And I learned a ton.
What does the certification allow you to do now?
Right now, my focus has been the book. I will say the dissertation was the start of the book that I then decided to write when I turned 60. And all of a sudden, I was asking those same questions. What am I doing with my life? At that point, my older 3 kids were gone. And then my younger 2, they're still here, but they're very independent, of course. One's in college and the other's in high school. And so my life is really different now from being just like having all of them and homeschooling and all of that. And so I really was just like, oh my gosh, this is different. This is different than turning 40. I was pregnant with my second, turning 50. I was adopting our 5th. And now like I've got time to think. And that's why I'm talking to people in this midlife time. It's such a great time because we do have time to think. And like just there's some more white space in our life, some more margin.
Exactly.
To not just be in sort of survival mode. My husband had said back in 2018, this is the start of a book. And I was like, oh, I don't know. But then it would have been 2021 that I decided to write a book. Because I went on this kind of, after asking those questions, this kind of 7 months of what am I doing with my life? And kind of thought I need to say yes to some things that sort of pop up, be on the lookout for just things that, I don't know, different things. But I was looking for something that was going to be like, what's the next 5 to 10 years of my life going to look like? So I got into this online program that I bought this year calendar from this guy, this entrepreneur guy, and he had a Facebook group. And so I got into that. And his big thing was he wants you to create a misogi, which is a life-changing event. It's a Japanese word for a life-changing event. He wants you to have one every year. You have these memories like back in 2021, I did this, 2022, I did this. Just one big thing that it could be anything. It could be climb a certain mountain. It could be write a book. It could be repair a relationship. It could be lose some weight. It could be a million, whatever. It could be anything. So I'm in this Facebook group. I didn't know anybody. They were all ages, male, female, and they're all really like living life. They're just, and I'm just kind of lurking, watching, reading what they're posting and stuff. And finally, after about being in there for about 4 months, this lady pops up and she says, I'm going to do 75 hard tomorrow. I'm going to start as a challenge. Does anyone want to do it with me? Do you know what it is?
I've heard of it, but remind me.
So I had heard about it 4 months before she said that. And I thought, and I listened to the podcast about it. I'll tell you what it is. And I thought, there's no way I can do this. I'm not his target market. This big, muscular, tattooed guy created this thing. It's a challenge. It's a physical mostly, but he calls it really a mental toughness challenge. And if you start and if you mess up one day, you go back to square one, day one. But you have to do 2 45-minute exercise sessions a day. One has to be outside in the elements. That would not be fun in Phoenix today.
No kidding.
You're saying it's 112 degrees.
You have to do it at 4 a.m.
And they have to be separated by at least 4 hours. You can't do them at the same time. And then you have to drink a gallon of water. That's a lot. And then you have to do a clean diet, or you can go on a diet. No dessert, no alcohol, no sweet, just that kind of diet. And then you read 10 pages of a nonfiction book every day. And you got to finish the book before you start a new one. And so after 4 months of being in this group, I thought, and I go back and I listen to his podcast again. I thought, I think I can arrange my life to do this. And it'll be my misogi. And I just turned 60. Like, I'm just needing to do something. And so I did it. And I was motivated because of those two things. But the only thing that changed was my mindset. Nothing else changed in those 4 months to make me think. So I went from no way I can do that to I think I could do that. And that's such a great example to me about how I always like to say we're the 5 people we hang out with.
Exactly.
Our influence, good or bad, it's probably that. It's us hanging out with these people. I didn't even know any of them. I wasn't talking much. I was just reading.
Yeah,
so that was pretty cool.
75 hard sounds like SEAL training for seasoned citizens.
Oh, I know. It was hard. But I worked it out to where it would work. I was already going to the gym and walking. That I added that, and some yoga stretching. I added that, and between all those 3 things, it worked out fine.
Is 75 the number of days that you have to go through?
Okay, 75 days. Sorry. Yeah.
And that's perfect because that really solidifies the habit, I would imagine. Once
it
you
does.
do it for 2.5 months.
It does. My book is called 60 is a Good Start, partly because I was 60 when I started to write it, and partly because 60 days is a good start, because we know from Dr. Caroline Leaf, who's a neuroscientist, she's written tons of books. She has seen in the microscope the brain cells, the nerve cells in the brain, the formation of habits. And it's at least 60 days. It could be 8 months. Depends on the habit, depends on the person, physical habit or a thought habit or whatever it might be. But it's at least 60 days. So my book leads people to what I call the 60-day dare. This is all about natural health and longevity lifestyle habits. So we little by little baby step our way to those lifestyle habits that studies show us are the key habits.
What are some of the key lifestyle or mental habits that you think seasoned citizens really need to be embracing?
I put them in 3 categories. There's 3 pillars: body work, brain work, and world work. And so they all fall into those. Body work is the physical. What are we eating? What are we drinking? How much water? Are we getting enough water? How are we moving our body? How are we sleeping? And how are we breathing? Deep breathing sessions, that kind of thing. We don't breathe very well in America. And then brain work would be the mental, emotional, and spiritual. And so in there, I call them the big five. Each category has the big five. So I just told you the big five for body work. The big five for brain work are writing. So if you've got maybe trauma that you still need to deal with, or grief, or whatever, it's journaling, just daily journaling. Just what's in your brain, get it down on paper, get it out of your brain on paper so then you can think clearly. And just that really helps. You can throw it away if you want. Reading some kind of nonfiction, self-improvement, personal development, could be business development, just something that's making you better, improving you in some way, lifting you up. And then clear is the third one, and that is decluttering your home or detoxing your home. So detoxing meaning from the chemicals. There's great ways that you can get the chemicals out that are usually under the kitchen sink, in the laundry room, and in the bathroom. Skincare, makeup, toothpaste, shampoo, everything we put on our body is going through our skin because it's like a sieve into our bloodstream. And so it's back to natural health. It's super important. And it's not hard. You just going to buy something different. Instead of buying that, I'm going to buy that. So that's a big one. And just taking those 60 days and every day spending 15 minutes or longer if you decide to go longer, but either decluttering, because that gets to our mental. You don't want to live in a cluttered up space because that just makes our mind cluttered. But also, little by little, going through your house, getting rid of those chemical things, purchasing the right things. And then meditate, which would include meditation, prayer, affirmations, 10-minute session on that. Or then create would be the fifth one, which is more of like a de-stressing kind of art-making activity. Now, if you're a painter and you sell your paintings, that's more going to be in world work. But this would be more in like just the de-stressing nature. I love the needlepoint. That's it. I do it at the end of every day. It's my reward. To just sit and create something beautiful. And I give a ton of ideas on what you can look into. And then world work is your purpose and your relationships. The big five in that are, if you don't know what your purpose is right now, if you're feeling like I was, which is just restless, like I needed something I could sink my teeth into that would make me excited to get up in the mornings and just do what I was now going to do, right? We all need that, and we all have that. We just have to find it. So the first one's called Dream, which there's back to 60. There's 60 questions. You're going to answer one question a day, journal your answer. Some take a little longer. Some just take a few minutes probably. And those questions are going to lead you, I think, to what your purpose is for this time in your life.
Super.
Yes. And then engage is the second one. So, at this point, there's a lot of people that are empty nesters, maybe widows or divorced, and loneliness is a huge issue.
Exactly.
So we have to make an effort to deal with that. And the more studies I've read recently when they look at all the things that go to the longevity lifestyle habits, more and more are saying like that might be the number one, is the relationships, the friendships, just the companionship with somebody else. Mm-hmm. So if you choose engage, and on these world work ones, you're going to rotate each week. So you might do the dream questions every day for 60 days, like you're going to do in the other two categories. You're going to do that, whatever you choose. So you're designing it within these parameters, but you're going to do whatever you choose every day for 60 days because we're building habits. But on these other world work ones, you can rotate it during the week. So you might, maybe 2 days, let's say you live alone and you're an introvert. So it's harder even for them. You might choose to do engage twice a week or something. And it's not a text. It's either like a phone call or FaceTime with my brother that I haven't talked to that lives across the country in too long. Or I'm going to call and we're going to go to coffee. People love to go to coffee. That's fun. Or we're going to go to the bookstore together. Or, you're just going to make that point to engage. Maybe you're going to just go to a class and you're going to engage with people there. You're going to talk to people there. So it's really having to get out of that comfort zone and make the effort to make friends, keep friends. And then gather is the third one, which that goes to the spiritual nature. One of the longevity habits in all the different studies is that people were in a spiritual community of some sort. So it could be that once a week you go to church or whatever your spiritual thing is, or it's a small group maybe that you meet with to talk about those things, or even a one-on-one to talk about those things, but doing something to that with other people or another person. The fourth one's volunteer. So many people find their purpose at this point in life in some kind of volunteer activity. But I really tell people, find something you love. Don't just accept when someone calls you and says, will you do this? Because when you say yes to something, you're always saying no to something else. And then if it's not really your cup of tea, it's just not going to be a good thing. Resentment could pop up and things like that. So really try to find something. There's so many things in the volunteer area. And then if you do know your purpose, the fifth one is act. And so you're going to just work on it an hour a day. Just sit down at the desk and do whatever you need to do.
I love that. It sounds like your book is just chock full of practical information that seasoned citizens would find helpful.
I think I was like, I can spit all this information out, but if there is not a plan, make it happen. And so there's a planner that goes with it. And I even have an online program. We're in the middle of the beta test right now. We're on day 43, I think it is, where people can do it with me if they want. Or I definitely recommend if they're going to do the 60-day dare, they do it with at least somebody else or a group of friends or whatever, because that accountability is key. And we know all the stats of people that set their New Year's resolutions and then a couple weeks later, they're not doing them.
That's right.
So yeah, that real specific accountability with a plan and a daily attention to it's real important.
Many people have told me that if you don't know what to do as a seasoned citizen to give your life purpose, start volunteering. Like you said, because we'll open the door for other things. You'll meet other people through that process or something.
Yes.
And if you just have an inkling that it might be interesting, pursue it. Give it a try. Yeah. You can't be fired. So if you just don't like it,
they'll be thrilled that you're there.
That's right. Exactly. Very appreciative as well for people to do volunteering. Where would you recommend people start if they wanted to do volunteering? Is there an organization in many communities?
Yes, there usually is. Let's see. I think the one in our town is called RSVP.
Okay.
Is that a national organization?
It is.
Yeah. Okay. So certainly that would be a general, but I would Google, give me examples of all the volunteer opportunities.
Right. Yes.
Or just the information is so out there, but that's one good organization probably.
Yep. United Way is another one. They have a bunch of organizations that are part of that. Super.
Yeah.
I love that one of the components is friends and relationships, because too many seasoned citizens are not making new friends. And that's unfortunate because they are moving away or dying. And when you see a lot of it, just breaks my heart to hear people stop friendships over silly political things for crazy.
Oh gosh, I know. And it's so huge today.
It is.
More than ever. I've been watching this show every morning on politics. It's called Two Way. And it's got these three guys on there. One of them is truly just a centrist journalist. He's like in his probably 60. And then he's got a liberal and a conservative on there. And the whole point, every day they come on and say, our ethos here is peace, love, and understanding. And listen to these other people, because half the country thinks that way.
Right.
Half the country thinks this way, half the country thinks that way. So listen to what they're saying and learn something. Be able to just have a conversation.
That's
pretty cool.
And the idea of meeting with people to just have those conversations is a great way to cure loneliness.
Yes. That's what you're really into too. Yeah.
That's right. A lot of people, it's frustrating to hear about them. They get trapped in the rut where they might go golf or whatever it might be, but then they sit in front of the television and watch news, watch Jeopardy, doom scroll through the news media and social media and all of that, then rinse and repeat the next day. And it's not fulfilling to them, but they've got all of this accumulated wisdom, knowledge,
That's
experience
the thing.
that is
The
just
wisdom.
going to waste.
I know. That's the other reason I think this is such an incredible time in life. You've got the time to think about things, but you have the wisdom of your whole life experience that people need. People need it, whether it's one person or a lot of people. Yeah.
You had mentioned writing as one of the components for one of the things that you were talking about. And I was wondering, would sharing your life story or just writing it down be considered something that people could do at that point? Because I think a lot of people.
When I think about, my parents are both gone, but if I had a document from them that they wrote their life story down, how incredible would that be?
Right.
Much less my grandfather or great grandfather, to have that generations down. Would that not be amazing? To just, yes, just the process of it, and would be so probably cathartic in a lot of ways and just satisfying in a lot of ways. Yeah, I really think that's important.
I hear a lot of people say nobody cares about my story because how much do you really know about your great grandfather? They did not have the technology we do to capture those stories, to speak into a recording so you don't even have to write it down.
Exactly. You can just dictate it.
Exactly. Right. That's good. I'm glad to see that you are promoting that kind of activity as well.
All about that. In fact, I've thought about that so recently about my grandparents and wishing I knew, like my great uncle was served with patent.
Wow.
I know. And I was talking to my brother the other day and I'm just like, gosh, I wish we knew more about exactly. And I know they were in Europe together and some stuff, but to hear their detailed stories.
That would be wonderful. Do you offer online classes?
I have our online program.
Okay.
And it's not expensive at all. If you go to my website, AllisonMcCuneDavis.com, and then there's a link that says 60-Day Dare, you can get into it from there. And so it's an app. You can have it on your phone or it's on the computer too. And we do weekly Zoom calls just for accountability, checking in, how's it going, what's working, what's not working. It's just a community of people midlife that are doing the 60-Day Dare and needing accountability. So that's what I've got right now.
Okay. How much would the 60-Day Dare be for people currently? This is 2025 and people might listen to it later and the price would go up or something.
Right. This is the beta test and the community is free at this, but there's 3 levels. There's a $5 a month that's for a tracking system that you can go in and check off and read a little thing on each day. And then for $10 a month are the weekly accountability Zoom calls. We're getting ready to reassess, and so that may change. But regardless, I don't think it's ever going to cost a ton. But it's
okay.
It is right now, so not much.
Super. It sounds like it'd be something that people could do just to get started. At the end of 60 days, are they left to fend for themselves, or do you...
No, like for instance, our 60 days is going to end the end of August, so the one we're doing right now, and then we're going to do another one starting September 22nd, I think it is, and that'll take us right up to right before Thanksgiving. So there's 3 weeks in between there, and then probably I'll leave whatever, maybe that's 5 or 6 weeks during the holidays. We're still going to meet, but I'm not actually doing it then. People don't have to start with me. So I've got several people in there that they're not on day 43, they're on day 35. So they don't have to start when I'm starting either. So there's options like that, but I'm always going to let you know when I'm starting. And so a lot of people are doing it when I started, but we'll still talk and it'll be kind of like, okay, you're not doing the 60-Day Dare right now, but are you still somewhat staying on track? And then I hope to keep doing them.
You talked about people setting New Year's resolutions and quickly getting out of that routine and they go to the wayside. So having a 60-day challenge, I think, is ideal because if you miss, you can start over again in 60 days and still recover. Or one lady did start with me and then immediately she got sick. I don't know, a cold or something, but it just took her out for 5 days. Mm-hmm. And then she just started back up again when she was better. The goal is just to change these habits. So we just are going to keep doing it until we get them. Okay. So
Little,
you are in your 60s with a high schooler. That's got to be challenging.
I was 50 when we adopted our fifth from Ethiopia,
Okay.
and she is going into ninth grade. And I'll be 65 this year.
Oh, my.
Yeah, I just keep saying they're part of what keeps me young.
That's right.
And my whole goal, literally, for 25 years, especially I started having kids at 37, which is a little later than most people. And it's always been energy, my driving motivation. I've got to have energy to do that job of being a mom of 5 kids. Whatever I need to do, you've got to figure this out.
That's it.
It still is, because now I'm 64 and I still need the energy.
Exactly. And the high schoolers will do that for you.
Yeah, fortunately, she's a wonderful girl.
That's great. Do you have any grandchildren as well?
I do not.
Not
I do
yet?
not.
Okay.
My oldest is 27, and just don't have any yet.
Oh, very
Okay.
very
So with still having a high schooler, I'm okay with that.
Did putting together this program and writing the book and developing this natural medicine kind of thing create any challenges for you?
Oh, yeah, sure. Gosh, along the way, going toward the natural health world, and then my father was a surgeon. My mother-in-law was an OBGYN. So with the two of them, she's in a nursing home and he died, but that was tough. We ended up having our second and third were home births, and our first was a C-section. And we didn't tell them that our second was going to be a home birth. They thought we were going to the regular doctor and everything was going to be like the first time around. And I just knew because I did have some fear, but at the same time, I'd read enough, I felt secure enough that it was the right thing to do. We've really medicalized the process of birth, which is not good for multiple reasons. And certainly if there'd been a problem, we would have gone right to the hospital. But we had the baby at home and then called them and said, hey, come on over to the house. And we're all kind of, oh my gosh. There were those kinds of things of, what are you doing? Are you sure that's the right thing to do? Even further along in the child rearing area of choosing to do something more natural.
I agree.
Yeah.
If you had the opportunity to turn the clock back, is there anything you'd be doing differently?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. So no regrets. I love that because.
No, I really don't. I definitely believe that I think for most of us, we are doing the best we can at that moment. And if we could do better, we would do better. I have always been tried to be tuned into my intuition and to signs along the way that pointed me in this direction or that direction. And I've certainly made mistakes, but I learn from them too. So
very good. Yes, as long as we're learning from the mistakes, that's part of life. If you're not making mistakes, are you really living?
No kidding.
What advice would you give to people over the age of 50 who are struggling to determine what might give their life more meaning and passion?
I would definitely just implore them to embrace the belief that they are not too old. Because I think a lot of people think, in fact, right before I decided to write the book, I was with my friend that I grew up with. We were in Dallas. We'd known each other since we were 6, and we're still friends. And so I was with her. I had just turned 60. She was about to turn 60, and we were with 3 or 4 of her friends. I didn't know them really, that were also in that same age range. And so we're all having a drink at a bar, and she laughingly said, 60, I hear 60 is the gateway to old age. And I just had this vehement response. I was like, no, I don't accept that. And then it was a couple weeks later that I decided to write the book. It's just, what are you passionate about? What makes you angry? Just asking those questions, those dream questions are really good to look at. But I just would encourage you to just believe that this is an incredible time in your life, unlike any other time when you were really probably hitting the road really hard, whether it was raising kids or a career or work or just whatever you were doing. I think we can have a little more time in our life. Some people just continue to be busy and don't stop and maybe stop doing a few things, that are they really necessary? One of the exercises is really looking at all the kind of key things you do in your life, and are you aligned with them?
Right.
And when I say aligned, like when you think about that thing, like what are the 10 big things you spend your time on in your life? I go do this group thing, and then I do this work thing, and then I spend time with these 3 people, and then look at all kind of the major things you do in your life. And when you think of each one, how does your body feel? Does it feel constricted, or does it feel expansive, like you love that thing? Or is it in the middle somewhere? You're not quite sure, or sometimes, and other times, maybe it's. And so really identify how do you feel about all those things. And you really ought to be spending your time doing the things that you feel expansive about and that you just know you love. And maybe just take a break. Just take a break. And you can always go back to some of those other things and see what happens. It opens up some space in your mind to think about purpose and, what could just really be, how could your life just be pretty wonderful day to day?
That's a good point. I know that it's okay to say no.
Yes. Oh, I feel like that's what I'm telling people the most. You got to learn to say no.
Right.
You're not meant for everything. If you're doing something that it's just not getting you going, you're probably not meant to do it.
Yep.
And there's somebody else out there, even in a volunteer situation where we think, oh, I've got to do it. Nobody else is going to do it. That's not necessarily true. Sometimes you just have to step away and miraculously someone else pops up.
It's amazing.
Going to do it. It's really true.
Exactly. How can people connect with you if they'd like to learn more about
They certainly can go to my website. It's my name, AllisonMcCuneDavis.com, my whole name. Or I'm on Instagram and Facebook. They can find me there, same name, and send me a message.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this story with us today. I love what it is all about. I like this 60-day dare. I'm going to have to get that book and read more about it.
I've got some guys that really like it.
All guys like challenges. So this is something that they can do. And it's short term. It's no longer big 60 days.
You can do anything for 60 days.
Exactly. So thank you again for sharing that with you.
You bet. Thank you.
What gives Allison McCune Davis meaning and purpose today is helping others reclaim their health and vitality naturally, not through medications. After a lifetime of raising 5 children, homeschooling, and overcoming her own health challenges, Allison finds joy in showing others that healing doesn't always have to come from a prescription bottle. It begins with awareness, intention, and small choices made every day. Through her 60-day DARE program, Allison empowers people to rebuild their energy, improve their mental and emotional well-being, and rediscover purpose through service, creativity, and connection to others. Her work blends science, faith, and intuition to encourage people to trust their bodies and listen to their inner wisdom. Now in her 60s, Allison continues to live what she teaches. She stays active by creating community and mentoring others to believe that it's never too late to start fresh. As she puts it, this is an incredible time in life. You've got the wisdom of experience and the time to make it count. To learn more about Allison's 60-day dare, as well as her approach to natural health, visit www.AllisonMcCuneDavis.com. She is also active on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. That's all for this week's show. If you'd like to start living a more meaningful life, I encourage you to download our free guide to finding purpose, which is available at www.forwardfrom50.com. I'll have another inspirational interview on the next episode of the Forward from 50 podcast. Thanks for listening, and if you like this show, please consider leaving a review wherever you download the episodes.